I remember the exact moment when my world collapsed. The leather chair felt cold against my back as I sat across from Marcus Reid, the man I'd called my business partner and friend for the past 7 years. His office, once our shared space, now felt foreign with its sleek minimalist design and the conspicuous absence of any trace of my contributions. "The board and I feel Lumina needs a different type of leadership moving forward," Marcus said, his voice clinical, detached. He slid the severance agreement across his immaculate glass desk. "Your technical vision was valuable in the early days, Olivia. But we're public now. We need seasoned executives who understand enterprise-level operations." I stared at the document, my name Olivia Chen printed in cold black letters at the top, co-founder and chief technology officer of Lumina Technologies, soon to be erased with a single signature. "I built the core system architecture," I said quietly. "I designed the security protocols that made our IPO possible." Marcus offered that practiced smile I'd seen him use in 100 investor meetings. "And we appreciate that contribution. But let's be realistic. The company's success has been driven by strategic partnerships and sales execution. The engineering was just one component." Just one component. 7 years of 3 a.m. coding sessions, missed holidays, and sacrificed relationships reduced to just one component. I'd moved across the country for Lumina, poured my life into building something remarkable. Now I was being discarded like outdated hardware. I signed the papers. Pride kept my hand steady, my expression neutral. The severance was generous, 6 months' salary plus accelerated vesting on some of my shares. But the real value, the exponential growth that our recent public offering promised, would now flow to others. "I'll need your badge and laptop before you leave," Marcus added, already checking his phone. Our meeting clearly just a box to tick off his list. I placed my badge on the desk but held onto the laptop. "My personal code archives are on here. I'll have IT transfer the company files and wipe the rest." He frowned. "That's not protocol. It's my intellectual property from before Lumina." I cut in, my voice firm. "Unless you want to discuss which algorithms predated our partnership agreement?" Something flashed across his facey annoyance, maybe concern, before he nodded. "Fine, it will contact you." I walked out of that glass-walled office with my head high, past teams of engineers I'd personally hired and mentored. Some glanced up, offering awkward smiles or confused waves. None of them knew. To them, it was just another Tuesday. Another day of building on the foundation I'd laid. Rachel, my lead developer, caught my eye as I passed her desk. "Early lunch?" she asked cheerfully. "Something like that," I replied, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. The elevator ride down 20 floors gave me time to breathe, to process. I wasn't just angry, I was disappointed. Not in Marcus or the board, but in myself. I'd trusted too much, documented too little, celebrated our IPO without securing my position. My mother's words echoed in my mind. "Success has many fathers, but failure is always an orphan." I'd been so focused on making Lumina succeed that I'd forgotten to protect myself. But I had one advantage Marcus didn't know about. I understood what he never bothered to learn. The intricate architecture of our platform wasn't just code. It was my vision, my approach to solving problems that no one else saw the same way. The system's elegance came from its complexity, and that complexity was mapped only in one place: my mind. At home, I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my personal laptop. I didn't need revenge, I just needed time. Time to process, to plan my next move. My phone buzzed with concerned messages from friends who'd seen the company-wide email announcing my decision to pursue other opportunities. I ignored them all. Instead, I opened a folder labeled Lumina Genesis and scrolled through early design documents, intricate diagrams, handwritten notes converted to PDFs, and the original whiteboard photos from our first hackathon. Each file was meticulously dated, backed up, and stored with the kind of paranoid precision that comes from growing up watching brilliant people get pushed aside. I wasn't going to sue Lumina. I wasn't going to sabotage them. I would simply wait and watch what happens when you remove the cornerstone and expect the building to stand. 3 weeks passed in strange, unsettling quiet. I'd slept more in those 3 weeks than I had in the previous 3 years. I'd reconnected with friends, started exercising again, and even considered a vacation, something I hadn't taken since Lumina's seed round. Then the first message arrived. Hey Olivia, sorry to bother you. Quick question about the distributed authentication protocol you designed. Something's acting weird with the enterprise deployments. Any chance you could point me to some documentation, Kai? Kai was a senior developer, one of our best. If he was struggling, something was very wrong. I didn't reply. 2 days later, another message, this time from Rachel. The dynamic resource allocation is throwing exceptions we've never seen before. Troy, my replacement, says it's because of technical debt. But I remember you saying this system was built to scale exponentially. Help? I forwarded both messages to my lawyer Vanessa with a simple note. It's starting. By the 4th week, the messages weren't just from developers. My phone rang with an unknown number that turned out to be Westfield Financial, one of Lumina's biggest enterprise clients. Miss Chen? This is James Parker from Westfield. I know you're no longer with Lumina, but our entire trading platform has been experiencing critical latency issues since the last update. Their support team keeps promising fixes, but nothing's working. You designed our integration ease. There anything you can suggest? I was polite but vague. I'm sorry to hear that, James. Unfortunately, I'm no longer privy to Lumina's current systems. Have they provided any timeline for resolution? His frustrated sigh told me everything. 3 missed deadlines already. We're considering invoking the service level agreement penalties. SLA penalties would be devastating for a newly public company still proving itself to shareholders. I thanked him for reaching out and ended the call, then immediately texted Vanessa. Major client threatening SLA penalties. Stock will take a hit if word gets out. Her response was immediate. Keep records of all contact. Don't offer technical advice. Let them feel the pain. It felt cruel, watching from the sidelines as problems mounted. But this wasn't about cruelty, was about recognition. By week 6, Lumina's stock had dropped 15% from its post-IPO high. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to make financial news sites speculate about growing pains at the freshly public company. LinkedIn was buzzing with posts from nervous Lumina employees, vague references to challenging transitions and technical restructuring. Then Marcus called. I let it go to voicemail the first time, and the second. The third time, he texted. Olivia, we need to talk. There have been some unforeseen complications with the platform. The board has authorized a consulting arrangement if you're interested. Very generous terms. I waited a full day before responding. Hi Marcus, I'm currently exploring several opportunities. My schedule is quite full, but I appreciate your reaching out. His response came seconds later. Name your price, we need your expertise. The desperation was palpable and oddly unsatisfying. I'd imagined this moment would feel vindicating, but it just felt sad. Sad that a company I'd helped build was struggling. Sad that Marcus still didn't understand what he'd thrown away. I called Vanessa. He's offering a consulting gig. Sounds desperate. Perfect, she said. What do you want? I thought about it. I don't want to consult. I'm not interested in helping Marcus save face. Then what do you want? Recognition. Acknowledgement that what I built matters. And my job back, but not reporting to Marcus. Vanessa laughed. Aim higher, Olivia. The stock's down 15% now, but wait until quarterly earnings. If clients like Westfield are having issues, the numbers will tell the real story. She was right. I didn't need to rush back. For the first time in years, time was on my side. The following week, I received an unexpected email from Elena Vega, the lead partner at Horizon Ventures and Lumina's biggest pre-IPO investor. Her message was simple. Coffee tomorrow? There are matters we should discuss. We met at a quiet cafe far from Lumina's offices. Elena had always impressed, sharp, direct, with the kind of penetrating gaze that made venture capitalists open their checkbook. Today, that gaze was fixed on me. The platform's failing, she said without preamble. Not dramatically, not all at once, but in ways that matter to enterprise clients. Ways that affect recurring revenue. I sipped my coffee. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Her question wasn't accusatory, just curious. Yes, I answered honestly. I spent 7 years building Lumina. I don't want it to fail. She nodded slowly. The board is calling an emergency meeting next week. Marcus has been less than forthcoming about the technical challenges. He's blaming the development team, implementation issues, even clients for misusing the system. But the engineers tell a different story. I said nothing, waiting. They say your architecture is brilliant but complex, that Troy doesn't fully understand the underlying design principles, that the documentation exists but doesn't capture your intuitive leaps. I allowed myself a small smile. The system was designed to evolve, to learn and adapt. That requires a certain approach. An approach you pioneered. Elena finished. The board needs to understand what happened, Olivia. Not just the technical issues, the decision to remove you. I'd like you to attend the meeting. As what? As the person who can explain what we're facing and how to fix it. The investors deserve the truth. I thought about it. This wasn't about revenge. It was about setting the record straight. I'll be there, I said. The boardroom at Horizon Ventures was nothing like Lumina's sleek, modern space. It was old-school power dark wood, leather chairs, and a sense of gravitas that no startup could match. I arrived with Vanessa, carrying a slim portfolio containing only what we needed. Marcus was already seated, along with Troy and 2 board members. His face when I walked in the flash of panic, quickly masked, was almost worth the past 6 weeks of pain. Olivia, he said, standing awkwardly. I didn't realize you'd be joining us. Miss Chen was invited at my request, Elena said, gesturing for me to take a seat beside her. Given the technical challenges we're discussing, her perspective seemed relevant. The meeting began with Troy presenting what he called system optimization challenges. His slides were filled with vague technical jargon, carefully constructed to suggest the problems were expected growing pains rather than fundamental misunderstanding. When he finished, Elena looked directly at me. Miss Chen, would you care to offer your assessment? I opened my portfolio and removed a single-page system architecture diagram I'd drawn 3 years earlier. The current issues aren't optimization problems, I said, my voice calm and clear. They're architectural misalignments. The system was designed with specific scalability principles that require deep understanding of how each component interacts. Without that understanding, even minor changes can cascade into major failures. Troy shifted uncomfortably. With all due respect, the codebase is Lumina property, developed under company resources. Vanessa interrupted smoothly. Actually, the core algorithm, the distributed authentication protocol that forms the foundation of Lumina's platform, was developed by Miss Chen prior to Lumina's formation. We have repository commits and academic papers documenting its development dating back to her graduate work. While she integrated this technology into Lumina's platform, the intellectual property rights for the core algorithm were never formally transferred. The silence that followed was deafening. Elena turned to Marcus, her expression sharp. You assured the board that all intellectual property was properly secured before the IPO. It was, Marcus insisted. Everything developed during Olivia's tenure belongs to the company. Except, I said quietly, the fundamental architecture that makes the entire system work was developed before Lumina existed. I brought it with me as my contribution to our partnership. One of the board members leaned forward. Are you saying Lumina doesn't own its own technology? I'm saying Lumina has been operating on a handshake agreement. I clarified. I never disputed the company's use of my work because I was part of the company. That changed when I was removed. Elena's gaze hardened as she turned to Marcus. So our newly public company is built on technology we don't fully own, can't properly maintain, and is now failing our largest enterprise clients. Is that an accurate summary? Marcus had no answer. The following days were a blur of legal meetings, technical discussions, and negotiation. The story that emerged was worse than I'd imagined. Not only were clients experiencing issues, but the upcoming product release, the one meant to showcase Lumina's enterprise capabilities, was months behind schedule. Troy had concealed the extent of the problems, and Marcus had prioritized maintaining the stock price over addressing the technical reality. When the quarterly earnings call revealed missed revenue targets and lowered guidance, Lumina's stock plummeted 42% in a single day. By week's end, it was down almost 80% from its peak. The board moved swiftly. Marcus was placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. Troy resigned, and I received an unexpected call from Elena. "The board has unanimously approved a formal offer," she said. "Chief Technology Officer with a seat on the board, competitive compensation, and full intellectual property recognition for your prior work through a licensing agreement. We need you, Olivia. The company needs you." I took a deep breath. "And Marcus?" "Will not be returning as CEO. His judgment has been called into serious question." I thought about it. Part of me wanted to walk away, to build something new without the shadow of this betrayal. But another part, the part that had poured 7 years into Lumina, couldn't bear to see it fail. "I'll need full autonomy over the technical organization," I said. "And public acknowledgement of my role in creating the core technology." "Done," Elena agreed without hesitation. 2 months later, I walked back into Lumina's offices, not as a consultant or a former employee, but as CTO and board member. The teams greeted me with relief and, in some cases, outright celebration. Rachel hugged me. Kai gave me a fist bump and whispered, "Thank God you're back. This place was falling apart." We spent the first weeks stabilizing the platform, addressing client concerns, and rebuilding trust both internally and externally. The stock began to recover as analysts noted the return of visionary leadership to Lumina's executive team. During a late night at the office, as I was reviewing code with a team of engineers, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I'm sorry, Olivia. I got caught up in the IPO, the pressure from investors, the image of what a public company CEO should be. I forgot what made Lumina special in the first place." "You deserved better, Marcus." I stared at the message for a long moment before putting my phone away without responding. Some bridges, once burned, shouldn't be rebuilt. Instead, I turned back to my team, bright, dedicated people working on technology that mattered. "Let's make this system bulletproof," I told them, "so it can never be broken again." A year later, I stood on stage at the Women in Tech Summit, addressing a room of engineers, founders, and students. When I was pushed out of the company I co-founded, I thought it was the end of my story. I said, "It wasn't. It was just the beginning of a different chapter, where I learned that what we build is inseparable from who we are." I scanned the audience, making eye contact with young women who reminded me of myself a decade earlier. "Your greatest strength isn't just what you create," I continued. "It's understanding your worth. Document everything. Know what you bring to the table. And remember, the systems that others take for granted might be the very foundation they can't stand without." After my talk, a young developer approached me, tablet clutched to her chest. "Your story changed how I think about my career," she said. "I was about to leave tech after my ideas were dismissed at my last job. Now I'm starting my own company instead." I smiled, recognizing the determination in her eyes. "The code you write tells a story," I told her. "Make sure it's one you're proud to put your name on." As I walked off stage, my phone lit up with messages: venture capitalists seeking meetings, companies requesting advisory roles, universities asking me to speak. But the notification that caught my eye was a stock alert. Lumina Technologies had finally returned to its IPO price. I hadn't rebuilt Lumina to prove a point. I'd done it because creating something valuable matters. But I'd done it differently this time, with clear ownership, proper recognition, and the confidence that comes from knowing exactly what you're worth. Some called it a comeback story. I called it a correction, setting things right, one line of code at a time.